Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I'm so glad you came back to paint with me. Today we're doing the Lighthouse as promised. This is the old Lighthouse photo that we're using as our source photo. I just noticed it looks like I accidentally got a little bit of black paint on there where it shouldn't be. So this is what we're going to use. You can make sure that you have your 2 bowls of water, containers of water, one for dirty water, one for clean water. So when your paintbrush is dirty, you'll always put it in one bowl. Then you'll wipe the brush off damp and put it in the clean water to pick up more paint. Try to keep those clean and dirty. Sometimes it's hard to do when you're in the throes of painting. You should have some kind of paints, either pan paints or tube paints. Either one is fine. I'm doing tube paints today. I really prefer tube paints. If you have pan paints, it'll work just fine, but be sure that you check out to see what colors you have. Like in this pan paint set, it looks like there's like 4 colors that are all dark and you can't tell exactly what color they are. So check them out by just putting a little bit of it on some watercolor paper and seeing what color it is. All you have to do if you want to use pan paints is take a brush, wet it, maybe keep wetting it a little bit to get a little bit of water in that color, move it around until it wakes up. You can mix colors here in your lid, however, it'll beat up really badly. So you can use paper plate even to do that on, to mix your paints on, or something ceramic. I tend to use this. I have several of these. They're really cool. I got them from Etsy. And let me go ahead and change this so you can see this a little bit. Okay, here we are. These are from Etsy. These are ceramic. You can get an old plate from a secondhand store. If it's really highly glazed, really super shiny, it won't be as good as one that's more dull because then the paint won't beat up. I use these all the time, and I have like 6 of these things, and I never clean them. I just leave them there because I've discovered over the years that sometimes I'll want one color. Like if I only had a really pale little yellow greeny thing, ooh, there it is right there. And I'll pick it up and use it, and then I'm done with this. So I don't clean mine. I like to leave them messy. So here we are using paint colors. 4 paint colors we're going to use today plus some black. This is an Ultramarine Blue if you have tube paints. If you're using the pan paints, be sure that this is a true blue. Don't get a turquoise. Probably wouldn't look as good. This is actually crimson red. I know it looks pink. It looks pink because I've used very little paint and a ton of water. Made it really watery, so it comes out looking pink. Lemon yellow, which is a great color. Many artists use lemon yellow. And a yellow ochre. These are all Daniel Smith paints. I love Daniel Smith paints. When I do my next video on tools, tricks, and techniques, I will talk all about paints, which paints to buy and why. So those are the 4 colors we're using, and here is my source photo that we're going to use. You'll notice I have other ones. I painted this one as well. Take a look at the difference. First of all, the size is different. This one's much smaller, and the colors are different. And then I painted this one just a couple days ago. Look at the different colors here. So it isn't so much important which color paint you use. It's more important what value of the colors you use. In other words, how dark or how light they are. So let's get started. Here's my painting paper. My line drawing is on there. I'm going to make sure you can see that line drawing. I attached a line drawing to your email, so it should be there. You should have it already. When you do your line drawing, be sure that you just lightly erase this so that it's just barely visible, so that you're not going to see a pencil line coming through your paint when the painting's done. I made it dark on purpose because the camera doesn't pick it up well if I don't make it dark. So this is our line drawing for today. Here's my source photo, and we should get started painting right now. I am using 4 brushes today. They're all the same brand. I bought them all as a set many years ago, and we're going to talk about these brushes in detail when I do my brushes tutorial. So these are Silver Black Velvet. I'm going to use the size 3/4 inch, and I'm going to use the size 8, and near the end I'll be using a little size 2. Those 3 brushes. So I'm starting with the big one, getting my paint wet. Now let me give you a little hint about these paints. What you should not do is stick your paintbrush that's wet in the middle of that color and start swirling it around. You want to have control over how light and how dark the paint is. So take the wet paintbrush and just barely tip it into the paint and kind of nudge it out of there. Kind of tease it out. See what happens? The blue blob stays there, but I'm teasing out a little bit of paint. And if that's too dark, I can always add more water and water it down even more and make it even more watery. But that way you're keeping the integrity of your paint dot and you're not smearing blue everywhere, and then you go, oh, it's too dark, now what'll I do? So just tease it out of the side like so. We're going to do the sky first. Don't paint the whole thing like this. Just go ahead and start, maybe over here near the lighthouse. I'm going to go right down the edge of the lighthouse and just start pulling some paint out. And you just want to pull it out at random. It's not like you're going to paint carefully. You're just going to pull it out randomly. I'm going to put some blue down in here by the mountains and pull it out from there. I'm going to put some on this side all the way down to the baseline where the mountains are, coming up. Be sloppy about it. Don't be really careful about it. On this side, I'm going to go ahead and put it right into the lighthouse. Like the blue is going right into the lighthouse because there's going to be shadows up here in the lighthouse and there's going to be shadows down here. And that way the blue will help your shadows appear. I'm just going to keep going until my paintbrush is pretty much dry. This is a little dark right there. Okay, and then I'm going to take another color, rinse off your wet, muddy paintbrush, wipe it on a paper towel or on a Kleenex. I use a lot of Kleenex when I paint. This is a little bit dark in here. I'm going to just dab that down with more water and wipe it off here. Now I'm going to pick up some pink. So same thing, you're going to tease the red paint out of that dot. Put the tip of the brush right in there, move it back and forth gently, and now I've got a pink. Out of the red, I've got a pink. So add that to your blue. Not everywhere, just dab it around. Because you want to have white showing. See, I have a lot of white showing through my sky. Let me get this up here. A lot of white showing through my sky. And you want that. You don't want to have it all completely enveloped. Because when you have light or white paper showing through any painting you do, it will add depth. Like you can see through the sky into infinity, as they say. All right, so this is done. The sky is done, basically. This is going to be really loose. Those of you who like things to be very orderly, this is going to drive you crazy, but, but give it a shot. I'm just dabbing that sky around a little bit more. I'm even going to dab it in between these. I have very little paint on my brush now. I'm going to dab it in between these little braces that hold up the dome, because wouldn't you see sky going through there? You would. And wouldn't you see sky going through the railing here? Yes, you would. Okay, so I'm thinking that's about it. I'm going to rinse my brush off. Now you want to wait till it dries. If at this point you think it's too much, take a Kleenex and simply blot it. By the way, I'm painting on 5x7. I like to blot it with Kleenex because it's sky, and clouds often look like that, right? Kind of blotchy. So now we're going to let it dry. I would say, let it dry for 2 or 3, 4 minutes. I'm going to dry with a hairdryer because I have a little portable hairdryer. It's going to be a little noisy, but it'll have it dry in about 15 seconds. Here we go. That's all it takes. Now when you want to make sure it's dry, don't use your hand this way to make sure it's dry. Turn your hand over and use your knuckles. And you can tell if it's slightly damp. It'll probably be dry in some places and damp in others, which mine is. Here goes the blow dryer, a little bit drier. Now, I'm also a great proponent of walking away. If I was painting this for myself right now, I would have painted that background and then I would have gone and lowered the dishwasher or, get something to eat or do something and leave it alone. Because when you come back and you see it with fresh eyes, you often think, oh, wait a second. I don't like that straight line. I've got this like straight line right here, and I don't like that look. So all I have to do to fix that is take a damp brush and go on that straight line and just dampen it a little and move things around. It'll loosen up that paint and it'll take away that straight line. It'll make things much more soft. Okay, so moving on to the next step, we're going to start painting the lighthouse. Now, the lighthouse is white. You can do a couple of things here. You can leave the lighthouse completely white and not even put any paint on it. That's what I did here. I didn't put paint on most of this white lighthouse. I just let it go white. And that's perfectly fine. Or you could do something that's like the yellow ochre, but super, super watery. So a lot of water. Now I'm using my size 8 paintbrush. Yellow ochre, do the same thing as before. Just tip the wet brush in the corner of the dot. See, and now look. Oh my gosh, can you see the paint there? It's super, super watery. I'm going to add more water to it. I just want it so light that it almost looks like it's white. It's got barely any color at all on it. And I'm going to use this to paint my whole lighthouse. I'm going to start up here and go straight down. Go ahead and go over the windows. It's fine. Go over everything. Go over the railings. Just go over everything. All the way down to the base of the lighthouse. This time leaving alone. It's supposed to be a door that's open, but in the source photo, the actual picture of the lighthouse, it was weird because it looked like a door, but it was, you could see through it. So I don't know what that is. But now we're painting this part up here. Just paint the whole lighthouse with this yellow ochre stuff. Yeah, and now it looks kind of white. And you know what? It will look white. Paint it right through the railing too. Go right through the railing. Oh, right through the railing up here, wherever that part of the lighthouse is showing. And now you've got your lighthouse painted. Guess what's next? Yes, the hairdryer. But before we do the hairdryer, we're going to also use this big fat brush again. This is a 3/4 inch to do some things down here. So if you look at the different ways the other photos have been done, this painting I did is all blues and browns. This one I used yellows and pinks. This one I left a lot of white. You know, it's mostly white, just a little blue. Any way you want to do it is fine. It's yours to do what you want with it. I think I'm going to use some blue. I'm not going to go into that dot again. I'm just going to use that little part that we pulled out, that light blue, and I'm going to put it down here. Now, when you do this kind of front landscape stuff, you got to be loose. In fact, if you hold your brush back here, you have a lot less control of the brush. If you hold it up here, you have a lot more control. Those people who have a hard time with control in painting, I always say, hold your brush back here and wiggle it back and forth. And it'll be a lot more, a lot looser. Okay, that's all I did. Just a little bit of blue paint here. Now if I want it to merge with another color, blend together, I'm going to do another color while that is wet. Wet paint means you can blend stuff together. Dry paint means you're going to put something on top. I'm going to get some of the yellow ochre. Hang on, get some here. And I'm going to just go ahead and do this. This would indicate land probably, so here's your mountain. I'm going to put some in the mountain. You know, that could be done. That could be the bottom of your painting all done. If you want to add more, you can. Let me rinse my brush out and get the smaller brush again. If I want to do something with, I'm thinking the blue. I'm going to pick up some of this blue, darker blue. Now I'm going to go right into that dot and get some dark blue. And I'm going to use that dark blue to do some edges along the land line here. Now can you see how it's merging together? Look how it's like just going poof. That's because I put wet paint on a wet card. I like that. You might not like that, but I like it, so I'm leaving it. And remember that you have to like what you're painting. It doesn't matter if anybody else likes it. What matters is you tried something interesting and new. I think I'll put a little bit of blue down in here. And then the mountains. Oh, I really love how that's look, bleeding together. Watch. See how it kind of merges together? It doesn't have it doesn't have a real distinct line. And the mountains, since they're further in the background, would be lighter, would they not? They would be a lighter color, but I like the blue there. Supposedly there's water down here because you got a lighthouse, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to add a little bit more blue on the wet card. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to leave that. It looks pretty kind of random looking, and I like it random looking. Now we're almost ready to finish our card, believe it or not. And I'm going to blow dry it. And I'm going to pause while I blow dry it just so you don't have to hear the blow dryer going. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've blow dried it with the blow dryer. I want to address one other issue right now. If you can see this card, you can see if I hold it. See how it's buckling? Yeah, that's totally typical. Don't panic. It's supposed to buckle because it's watercolor paint on watercolor paper. We'll fix that at the end, and I'll tell you right now how to fix the paper after it's buckled. I have an old, really thin kitchen towel, like those old flour sack cloths, you know, super thin. I lay that on my ironing board. I lay my painting when it's done face down on that towel, and then I very lightly spray water, very lightly on my painting, hot iron, and I iron it hard and low, and just iron it both directions like that, and then it'll flatten right out. Then I take a heavy book, and I lay that book on top of there, and I walk away and go away for a couple hours and come back, and it's totally flat. I've had some paintings that never buckle, which is great, but buckling is really common, so don't panic over that. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to finish off with some shadowing and our railings. So let's finish up, first of all, the shadowing and the main part of the lighthouse. The sun is supposed to be coming from this side, so this side of the lighthouse is going to be lighter. This side of the lighthouse will be darker, especially where it is underneath the walkway and underneath the overhang up here. So using my size 8 brush again, I'm going to make that dark thing happen with yellow ochre. So picking up some more yellow ochre. I'd say about tea consistency. And let's see how this looks. Now, if I make a mistake, I'm going to fix it. So watch how this happens. I'm going to put it on the card right under the overhang. Oh, that came out pretty cool. And under here, under the overhang, under that walkway. Now, see, I had put blue on there before, hadn't I? Remember that? I put blue on there first. I let the blue from the sky fade onto there. Awesome, because now the yellow ochre on top of the blue makes a really great shade color. And I'm going to shade it coming down the side of the lighthouse. Now, rinse your brush off, dry it off, wipe it off a second, and with just a little bit of water, tease the edge of that shadow. In other words, just wet it and dot it. Dot, 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 dot. When you do that, it will take away that harsh line. Now, sometimes you want a harsh line on your shadow. In fact, I think I took away too much. I think I made a mistake there. I'm going to go back and pick up some more yellow ochre and make it even darker. Oh, I like that because it's wet on wet. Wet paint on a wet card, and look at it move. It's moving all around, and I like that under here as well. Let it move. Awesome. I like this one. This is coming out very nice. I don't want a real harsh line, so I've taken a clean damp brush, dot, 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 dot along the edge of your shadow, and it'll just smooth it out, tease it out so it's not quite so harsh. And now we've got the shadow. Now, at the top of the lighthouse, it would probably be darker over here also. This is the side that the sun is not hitting, right? And I'm thinking it would be darker here on this jutty place that's jutting out. I like that. And this place right here and the back of the dome. They're all going to be darker because the sun's coming from here. I'm going to take my brush, rinse it off, damp brush, dot, 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 and just soften out the shadow so it kind of bleeds naturally. You know, that's looking pretty darn good. I like that. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to let it dry before I can put in the windows and all the details, and then we're going to be finished. So let's get the blow dryer real quick. I'm going to go ahead and just keep the camera on. Okay, that's it. It took me like 20 seconds. Want to make sure it's dry, so I'm going to use the back of my hand, the knuckle, make sure that that's not soppy wet, that it's nice and dry. And I'm going to put in the windows. Now, for the windows, I'm going to use Lamp Black. This is Lamp Black. It's from, let's see, I believe, yeah, this is from Daniel Smith. Lamp Black is an awesome thing. I don't use pure black very often. Mostly when I want something super dark, I will mix my own, quote, black by using blue and burnt sienna or yellow ochre, and I'll put them together and make a really dark, dark, dark color. But in this case, for those windows, I want it black. So I have just enough space left here in my little plate. I'm going to put a dot of Lamp Black. And you don't need much. You can even actually, one thing I think I like about these tubes, you can take a damp brush and actually get it right out of the tube. And it works, just a little dab on the end of your brush. That's another thing I like about tubes. You can tell I like tubes better than pan paints. But I have done some really cool things with pan paints, and they do have their place. And I do occasionally use them. Now I've lost my top. Oh, there it is. I don't want to leave the top off. I'd rather it not dry out. We'll talk about, on our paint tutorial, we'll talk about how to get lids off that are on there really tight, and all about putting lids on and off. So here we go. We're going to put our windows in. Oh, it's dry. Can you see how that brush is kind of skidding across, leaving kind of weird looking stuff? Yeah, it's not working very well because the paint's too thick and the brush is too dry. I'm going to wet my brush, put it into the Lamp Black, make it a bit more watery. And here we go with our windows. Now, truly, typically, I wouldn't make a window all black because, you know, windows, they're dark inside if you're in a shadow, but part of it's lighter, right? I mean, in reality, it isn't all just solid black. It would look like somebody put a nightshade down. But I'm going to make these black because I like the way they stand out against the rest of the Lighthouse. Now I made a mistake just now. I'm going to fix it. I'll show you how to fix a mistake. You see this window up here? I see how the paint, I was trying to hold the card up so you could see it well, and so I dabbed this black paint out here, and I didn't want that there. I'm going to take it off, and I'll show you how to pick up paint that you don't want there. Again, my brush is clean and damp. And all I'm going to do is lay it down and pull it across that black part I didn't want. Okay, now see, it got all mushy, didn't it? I'm going to do it again and wipe my brush off. Dry brush, wipe it again, wipe the brush off. Wipe it again and keep wiping until you've wiped away the black part you didn't want. Okay, let's see if we can try a different way also. I'm going to take a Kleenex and damp it and push it down one time. Don't move it around, just down, up. Now we'll look at it. Okay, now it's looking better. Now I think I can resurrect it by putting, hang on, I got Kleenex on my painting. There we go. By putting a little bit more black, and I'm going to have to lay the card down. That mistake happened because I was trying to hold it in my hand while I was painting. Never a good idea when you're painting to hold it up in your hand. There we go. And now once that's dry, I can take that yellow ochre and go back over it a little bit, and that'll be fine. So now the last thing you're going to do is the railings. You have the underneath part of the dome up here. That's going to be kind of a gray. So I'm going to nudge a little bit of Lamp Black out just from the corner because I want it to be gray. I don't want it to be black. So I'm going to do the underneath part of that dome in gray. Don't put your paintbrush in the middle of that black blob. You just want to nudge it a little bit out. Again, I was trying to paint holding the card up, which is such a silly thing to do. Hang on. Okay, paint underneath here, kind of blackish gray, so it's under the dome. Awesome. Let's paint it up here under the dome. One of the reasons I love these silver brushes, these black velvet brushes, is that they go to a beautiful, beautiful point at the end. I mean, you can paint a thin line with that point, and we're going to in just a minute. Okay, I'm also going to, I think we're ready to go. Oh, I see something I want to do. The very base of the lighthouse down here, this little block thing, looks like I didn't really get any paint on that. I've ignored it, so I'm going to go ahead and put my yellow ochre on that. And darker yellow ochre, more paint here on the edges because of the shadow again. Take a damp, dry brush and just tease that out a little bit so that the shadow makes sense and that it doesn't go all the way across. Now, we are ready to actually finish this painting. And we're going to do that by doing all of the railings. So, let me tell you about the railings. A couple of ideas. I'm going to do it with that little paintbrush, the number 4 silver black velvet brush. But if you have arthritis or the beginnings of Parkinson's or something that, or trimmers of any kind, sometimes I get trimmers in my hands at my age, you could do it with a pen. So, let me show you my pens. Well, I have a whole 2 drawers of pens. But let me show you what I use when I want to make something that's black and I want to make it so it's going to be waterproof and it's easier to use for my hands. So if you take a look at these pens, I've got 2 pens here that I really like. One you probably already have around your house. It's the Uniball Delux micro pen. It's got a really, really fine tip. And the other one I really like a lot is Le Pen. It's got more of a nub, a little bit fatter end on it, and that's actually the one I'm going to use. The only thing about using these is you don't want to use these until you're really done with your painting. You don't want to paint over them with a watery paint. They aren't 100% foolproof on not smearing. So you want to be sure you're done. And I'm done with my painting, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to use both. I'm going to try some with the pen. This is Le Pen. And I'm going to try some with the Uniball. And I'm going to try some with the paintbrush. And you can see the difference between them. So here is Le Pen. I'm just going to go ahead and make my lines going up this way with Le Pen. And this one, and this one, and this line here. And you have a black post down here that looks like it's sitting on nothing, but it really is sitting on some land right there. Okay, that's Le Pen. Oh wait, let's finish up these other posts. You know, the straight posts. Then let's see how it looks if you do it with a Uniball. I'm going to do that one. It's a much finer tip. I'm having to push down just a little bit on the pen to make it work. And I'll give you some options for doing this railing. And whatever this thing is sticking out, which I never did figure out. So, if you look at the difference there, not much difference except that the Le Pen is fatter, and with railing that might make sense. This is the Uniball, a little thinner. And let's do some more now in paint, using our lamp black. If I have too much paint on a brush or I'm worried that I have too much paint, I just take a Kleenex and hit the tip of it on the Kleenex, and you see how it soaks it right up? So I don't have too much on here. I'm going to use this for the top railing. Now it's going to be a lot fatter, and it's going to be a lot messier looking. But it won't look so perfect, and sometimes I like that not so perfect look. Okay, there is using paint. It kind of lends itself to being more like the painting, I think. So I like the painting. I'm going to go ahead and make the lines that come down up here as well, and a little top notch. And there is a box inside that lighthouse that holds the light in it, right? So I've got that on there. And I'm thinking we need to use the paintbrush also to paint these. These are like metal posts that hold up the walkway. I think it's good. The only thing I'm thinking is I don't like the fact that I can see the pencil so much up here on my yellow ochre. So I'm going to take a much darker yellow ochre. Let's get more paint out of here. And if I paint this a little bit darker, then you see, and actually I hadn't actually made, I did make a shadow up there, but it seemed to disappear. So I like the fact that I'm doing this again. It's really helping to take away those pencil marks. Ah, much better. Yeah, much better. And that's about it. Now I'm going to soften that shadow again with a damp brush. Just touching, tapping it down the line a little, let it soften. And the last thing I'm going to do to finish this up is did not touch my lemon yellow, which really, you don't have to have lemon yellow for this painting, really, right? I mean, it's pretty much done. But I wanted to use a lemon yellow to make the top of the mountains, to show these are far away. And actually, I like using lemon yellow here because it adds a really nice accent to it. Take a look at that. I like that lemon yellow on there. That's the last thing I'm doing, except I might want to actually throw a little bit of lemon yellow down in here. If that's some kind of a reflection down here, then you would see some lemon yellow down here, right? If this is water and those are mountains, depending how far back those are, maybe just a little hill behind the lighthouse, you might see some yellow down below, like so. That's it. We're done with this painting. The last thing you do after it's dry is sign your painting. Now, there's a lot of purists who say if you take a watercolor painting and you sign it with a pen, it's no longer a watercolor. Like you couldn't submit it for a national competition. You couldn't probably hang it in the Watercolor Society Hall of Fame, but I don't care. I just like to have fun and have a good time and paint. So if you were going to do it the, quote, right way, which is why I never join organizations because I don't like that snobbery way of thinking, but I just sign it, and I would sign mine on this painting. I would sign it right there. Small and delicate with a Uniball pen. If you want to do it with paint, you could do it with black paint, but it's very hard to sign a name with black paint and not have it be a big blob. But this is it. This is the end of this painting, and I think it came out really nicely. I'd love to know how yours came out and how you felt about that. Before we close, real quickly, let me tell you that the dish I used for my painting this time, these are little bowls. Little bowls I got off of Amazon. They're for like soy sauce and Asian dips and stuff. They're cheap. They come like 6 or 8 in a package. And if you're doing a small painting, this is what I would go with. When I do a big animal portrait, a commission or something, I'm using a whole different thing. But for small paintings, this is awesome to use. And just a little teaser here, our next painting is going to be coneflowers. I often say cornflowers by mistake. These are not cornflowers. Cornflowers are a whole different kind of plant. These are coneflowers. You'll get an email for that, and you'll have attached to it this lovely line drawing. And when you get these line drawings, in case you've missed this information along the way somewhere, you want to, now this is a nice dark one, isn't it? I did it with pencil, then I went over it with a fine black marker, a Sharpie. Take this line drawing that you get that's attached to your next email for painting, tape it up on a window, and then take your watercolor paper and lay it on top of it and just sketch it right through, just trace it right through. It will come through, believe it or not. It's watercolor paper is actually thin enough you can see right through it to do that. So we're going to have a whole other tutorial on transferring line drawings as well in the future, but this is our next one coming up in a short while, so be looking for that. And thanks for joining me today. Thanks for painting with me. Remember, until I see you the next time, be kind to yourself and to others around you because you're doing the best you can. Thanks so much. See you later.